Adeptus Group brings you the Disruption-Driven podcast with host Alex Robbins. Enjoy.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Disruption-Driven podcast where innovation meets intellect. Unless you've been living under a rock, you'll know that AI is the latest hot topic, but it's not just a buzz, it's a seismic wave of transformation sweeping through industries and reshaping the way that we work, live, and even think. Today, we sit down with Don Mallik, a driving force behind the scenes, helping global businesses to navigate the complex landscape of AI. As Chief AI Officer, Don oversees the integration of artificial intelligence into his clients' cutting-edge initiatives. We'll be delving into the fascinating journey of AI, exploring the challenges, breakthroughs, and the profound impact that it's making on businesses and society at large. So, Don, give us a bit of a background and an introduction, please.
Yeah, hey, thanks, Alex, for a great introduction. And hello, guys. And I think it's a great time to be in the space of AI and being curious. My AI journey goes back, I would say, about 15 years when I was involved in pioneering a technology called natural language understanding, right? That's the base technology behind something like Alexa or Google Home. That's the one that is able to listen to what is being said and specific actions being taken in the back end, right? So that I was one of the pioneers of that space, and that all began in 15 years back, like about 2010, 11. I was part of a team that created the engine, natural language understanding engine. So I go back way then, in fact, to a point where when we created that, in fact, we didn't know what we created. We didn't, that term was not coined yet. As an example, Google's engine, which right now it's called Dialogflow because they bought that startup that created it. They were called API.ai in 2011-ish, and they got bought out around 2013, I think. And so obviously they didn't name it natural language understanding engine. They called it API.ai. Right. So that's how things evolve, where you sometimes end up creating what you don't know what you're created, right? So it goes way back there for me, and I've been involved in other AI projects, mostly on the SaaS side of things. That involves, let's say, predictions to classifications to even image processing and all that. But I always remain more on the side of voice interactions and natural language understanding for predominantly. In fact, recently, after we saw the rise of Alexa's popularity and all that, we saw an opportunity where we could bring that same technology into a web browser. So we have created a technology called IStory, where you could interact with content similarly how you would interact with Alexa. That means you do not have to own a device like Alexa to have a conversation. You can just have a conversation right with your browser. So we call that IStory. And then those experiences actually propelled me to be where I am as the Chief AI Officer at E002.
Right. Okay. Interesting. So tell me more about iStory then. Is that a Gen AI use case or?
Yes. That I would say was clearly a Gen AI use case even before I think that word became popular. I would say Gen AI got popular only this year, right? Because of ChatGPT. But the idea itself was born way back in 2016 and became operational in 2019. I'm talking about iStory. This is basically a use case where we are helping content creators create conversational content, right?
Right.
Imagine talking to a content. Content could be a YouTube video. It could be just your website, right? And what if you can have a conversation? The most memorable thing is sometimes the conversation, right? Yes, the visual part is appealing. The copy and the images are appealing, but end of the day, what you are trying to do when you have those is actually triggering your emotions, and that's the conversation you're having by triggering that's the interaction there. You're showing something that triggers emotions, and we are not just showing our just a content, we're also trying to bring that emotion out as a conversation, right? That's what Alexa does, but Alexa does not bring in the visual aspects. Plus, Alexa also is kind of jailed inside a speaker. So what if you liberate it and bring it to the web browser? That's what iStory. So we created this product where content creators who are really good at creating content, like think people using Canva, right? So now what if you empower them with this tool where they can just create content that's interactive, brings in all that AI goodness, right? And they do it all by themselves and launch it just like that, right? So that's what iStory is. It's a SaaS-based product. You can try it out at istorylive.com.
I was about to ask. So yeah, well thought of. So yeah, the way that I'm just trying to understand it is I am working in part with a startup training content provider who has a similar kind of thing. It's a bank of videos that are interactive, and they react to the user's interaction with the content, right? So they can gauge exactly how engaged they've been in certain parts of the video, and then they will actually adapt the content to suit that person's responses. Is that what we're talking about here? It'll literally switch, the end of the story dependent on the interaction.
Yeah, I would say similar. When we say interaction, what I've seen in the past is mostly touch interaction, right? What if it's just voice conversation, right? But that's just, and again, another level up. But what if it is a conversation, right?
Right.
As interaction is different from a conversation.
Yes.
Couldn't tell if the other side is really intelligent or not, like us. When I say right, that's the level we're talking about right now. That's the possibility now. Yeah. So the product I'm talking about is slightly better than the touch interaction. It is, you can talk to it, but where we are going with that product is making it conversational, which means you cannot tell if it's intelligent or not. Human intelligence is what we're talking about, because that's what we get out of technology like ChatGPT and LLMs.
And this is the big question, isn't it? Is whether or not it passes the Turing test, I guess.
I believe we have passed the Turing test. And again, Turing test sometimes itself in question, because what if the person who's on testing it is not intelligent enough? There's a level of intelligence.
Yes. Yeah.
On the human side. So yeah. So
of course.
I believe we have passed it in theory, at least.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I'll be playing around with that shortly after this call myself, no doubt. That's very interesting. So, I mean, obviously, look, we've had a lot of advances in technology over the past decade or so, and very notably, Web3 blockchain had its phase, so to speak, and I think arguably there's a lot of people that might say that none of those use cases have really been proved to any useful human extent yet. So is this just another moment in the spotlight for AI and LLM? Is it just hype, or is it for real?
Well, let me explain it in terms of cycles, of time cycles, right? Yes, so there are certain use cases that it's good to go today, like it's being used widely, summarization and smaller things. But then I'm going to answer this from what really the impact is in the long run, and I really cannot say what that long term is. Is it 3 years? Is it 2 years? Is it 6 months or 10 years? Right? That definitely is in question. But if we step back and look at history from a perspective of what capabilities have what kind of impact in society, I would draw the attention to way back in 1960s when we had the capability of electronic chip. Right. These chips were able to execute instructions step by step at really tremendous speed, and they could do it continuously, and you could put those chips in areas where humans couldn't do it, right? They couldn't be there, right? So that gave rise to so many things, like calculators were industry were born, to an elevator that you just assume by pressing a button works because of that. And so many industrial impacts happen because of that, right? Including going to the moon, right? We went to the moon because of that. But then it didn't stop there, it evolved. Right now, what happened is you started putting input and output devices to that chip, and now it became a PC. And now that means all the offices started buying PCs and automating their backend stuff. And a new industry called software development industry, where you started custom building software. So see the impact now it's becoming in terms of the economy and all that. Now PCs started talking to each other. What happened? Internet, and you have a never stopping train, like the SaaS industry, the cloud, the Ubers, the content economy. I can go on. It is like trillions and trillions of dollars, just waves and waves of new innovation coming, right? So I would look at it from that perspective, right? Now that new chip is the LLM, right? So what is the basic capability of LLM is if you give it a sentence, and you can give it in infinite ways, you get infinite results that is intelligent. That's the basic capability, right? So, and that gives you tremendous potential. So the impact is going to be there. The only thing I cannot predict is the exact timeline. It is happening. And I would just leave it at, it depends on when the infrastructure is available, tools available, then when we are ready to apply it at scale, same as internet. As soon as internet came, we just didn't started having SaaS. SaaS didn't happen 10 years. So initially it was more like emails, social and all that, till we had the cloud infrastructure. Once cloud infrastructure was ready, then the SaaS industry was born. So that's how I see the same trend. So it is real. On a time scale, I don't know.
And what's your opinion on, because I think that you've raised a good point there, internet for one, that was obviously started as something that was truly open source, and it was really meant to allow everyone access and freedom for information and all of that kind of stuff. And we're now seeing the internet be much more heavily regulated. I think that, potentially some of the blockers to mass adoption in blockchain is also around regulation. And we're having these long debates in Congress and scandals, or nearly scandals, I think, with Sam Altman a couple of weeks ago and OpenAI that was very quickly back and gone and back in. So, but what I'm getting at is where do you see it going in terms of industry regulation, and what effect will that actually have in terms of innovation?
So we are it's going to be in the news because, as I said, it has infinite possibilities. Comes with probably infinite issues, right? I believe internet has its own complaints as well.
Right.
So I can say that, hey, the way to handle it would be through governance. Like, hey, some of the governance we have are, hey, clean your data, to how do you fix hallucination, injection attacks, securities and all that, right? But there's also the other angle where the biases in the system are being exaggerated because of the AI, right? As an example, let's say there's a loan system, right, that is biased even before, let's say, software automation. Now, software automation brought in the scale, right? Now, AI is bringing it to another scale where it is getting into the decision, right? AI is deciding based on past patterns, which was biased. So now it's not AI's fault. It's just making it more exponentially bad. That's it. So it is exposing the system's fault at scale. So that's why we need this governance and all that. Then obviously there's going to be other complaints from an angle of sharing, right? let's take two industries. One is the image industry, right? And another is the voice industry. So voice industry kind of was there even before AI hit it. So kind of we were prepared on that. So when Alexa Titan were launched, we didn't just generate voice out of thin air. We actually paid the voice actors to donate the voice, and then we generated voices out of them. So there was no issue now, people claiming, oh, you used my voice. And this was done really legally. So today, let's say they go to another country, they actually they spend a lot of money collecting voice. They pay, and when they pay, it's all well written that you're giving your voice for this purpose. Everyone's happy. So this is a distributed model, right? Now, on the image side of things, we weren't ready. So we started just, browsing the internet, and these images were there. And I would say, let's say for training purpose, we looked at it. However you can use the training data, or you can say you looked at it. And now they have a problem with that, because when an image is generated now, they're not getting paid, unlike the voice industry. You see, it's because this was hidden beyond, we got here because we were not prepared. The voice industry already existed. We were prepared. Here, we were not prepared. Right. This industry was more liking the Google search kind of search industry, where even though people are searching something, right, when Google has no rights over what that content is, but Google is sharing it, right? And if I am a content creator, I want Google to see me, right? I'm pushing towards it, right? So that's a distributed model. Here, with an image generated, that model is not distributed, so there's no economic value, and people are not liking it. So you're going to get fallouts like that, where due to economic race, fallout, as I said, is systemic biases being exposed and everything. And some of them can be, taken care if we have governance from applied AI perspective. And some of them we just have to wait and watch, and there'll be dust. It'll settle down.
So do you think that is the answer? Because I've seen some very famous cases of biases, with AI models. There was one years ago with a very early Google AI model, right, where they were, talking about something to do with race, basically, and it didn't look favorable for Google at all at the time.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, right, exactly. And there's a number of different things. I think even my brother actually posted on LinkedIn about how he'd asked GPT a number of times who are the top 10 global actors, and it was all white guys in Hollywood, right? So he made a point. He's like, what about the African film industry or Bollywood? Aren't there more higher grossing actors in some of those places? And in fairness, ChatGPT was then answering and learning as it went along, and then coming back to him and saying, yeah, well, actually, okay, here's some other actors you might consider. So is it just a case that it has to learn? As you said before, it can only go off the data that it's been trained on so far, right?
And that data is coming from the system. So I would say from that perspective, data is king. So if you want to be heard, it used to be make noise. Now it should be make data.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So then I would say, hey, this population in Asia, they can now create more data.
Yes.
That's the way to make noise, and that would eventually tilt it then there'll be more bias towards whoever has more population, right? We don't know how the society would evolve, but yes, things are changing. So.
I think that one of the best quotes that I've heard on this is Mo Gaddart, who was previously at Google, who said that effectively we are the parents of AI right now, and we have to be responsible parents and teach it what we want it to learn. If we teach it badly, then it's going to be dangerous and it's going to be biased, and we're not going to like the output. But if we give it good data, and if we raise it the right way, then it can be really beneficial and helpful.
Yeah, that's a nice way of looking at it. Yeah. But parent, that's really perfect, because initially you're in control, but as it grows, you have zero control.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds a little bit scary for me.
I know, but the hope is at least in some, populations, once the kids grow up, they take care of their parents. So
Yeah.
hopefully that'll happen.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. You want that's, I mean, to be fair, that's another cultural thing, right? It's less so in certain parts of the world that the parents are looked after. What we don't want to do is for AI to ship us out to a nursing home and forget about us, right?
Yeah. Scary times.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, obviously we're talking about governance and that way of kind of handling biases. What else do you think is important when we're talking about fixing some of these teething problems in early models, and also, like you say, the privacy concerns that are related?
Well, I think adoption is going to be a challenge, right? So as I said, we started this year from a like, hey, everyone knows AI perspective. Yeah, AI has been there for 20 years, right? But today everyone knows about it because of ChatGPT and the capability, and we are talking about it because of that. And we know something is coming. We don't know what, right? But other than ChatGPT, from an adoption perspective, a lot of things has to happen. You know that, right? I would say about 1% of the companies are innovating now. Slowly it'll become 10, and then over a period of time, it'll become 60% or so. What should happen to get there, right? For that spread to happen. I mean, right now we are in a stage where we are investing heavily on the base technology, right? Like creating the LLMs, training them, finding out new architecture, making them better and all that. That, I believe, is the job of OpenAI to Google's and Microsoft, right? And they have enough money, they're going in the right direction, they're putting enough effort behind it, right? There's no problem there. It's evolving, it's in their own timeline as it should. The next phase of that is take that technology and build tools around, right? So you might have heard LangChain to so many other vector databases and all that, embedding-based vector databases and all that. So, and a lot of money is being poured and a lot of expertise is thrown at it by VC, startups, so many other things, even including larger companies coming up with tools, right? Everyone has AI tools now. It is getting mature, right? So that I don't see a problem there too. It's a matter of time, but there's no prediction on exactly when we'll have a matured set of tools. But we do have started getting tools already, right? From governance to communication to putting things together. And everything is there in place, or it is getting ready in place. So some of them could be 90% there, some of them 20%, right? But that is happening. Money is getting efforts being done. So that's a second stage. The last is how do you take all this and apply it to all the use cases out there? I believe that's the hardest part. That's if you get that right, then the spread will happen, right? So one of the problems I see there is the fact that today software is getting customized and implemented at scale by the software development industry, which is comprised of about, let's say, 27 million people or so, right? Now, is that industry and that set of people ready to take on the LLM capability and apply it at scale? For that use cases, the answer is simply no, because 1% or less out of that pool of 27 million is do have the knowledge of ML, machine language models and all that, and even those people are not equipped to really apply LLM for a specific use case, because this is totally different from even the old LLM. So that from that perspective, I think that is a big blocker. These are the only guys who can do it, and these guys are not ready. So how long will it take? I don't know. So we are approaching that in a certain way. As an example, we have an architecture which brings in all the LLM capabilities as a framework which exposes these functionalities smaller blocks with smaller input output, So now no more thinking in finite ways to put in a sentence and get in infinite intelligent results, right? So you take it as a small function. I'm going to give an input for this, and I'm going to expect a specific output, right? For example, I'm going to give it an image, and I'm going to expect a result of, hey, is this an animal or not? Or is this that or that, right? I'm going to give it a sentence. I'm going to see, is it positive or negative about my product? Does it have a specific word? Does stuff like that, right? So if once you break it into very small functions, then it becomes more like a Lego set where smaller blocks. Once you have these well-defined smaller blocks, you can build anything you want based on your use case, and anyone can build it. You don't need specific skills now. So now, the way we have architecting is through exposing it through smaller API functions like this, microservices.
Right.
Now,
yeah.
All the 27 million out there, software developers know how to handle such small API functions.
Yeah.
So they can now take it and start applying it to their use cases, right? To build applications that harness the power of LLM. While you do need some people to take care of the framework, but you don't need a whole lot. The majority of them can focus on applying those functions to the use case, while a minority set of people can focus on taking care of the framework and the wirings and the complexity that comes with an LLM, right?
Right, yeah.
And this is not just theory. We're actually applying this framework on many use cases. And in fact, what we are creating using this framework is something called AI People, where we are actually harnessing the power of AI to tremendously improve the customer experience of our clients. So
that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I have heard that the future may well be more specialized niche. AIs focused on a specific set of tasks as opposed to this huge model that we're seeing at the moment. So you mentioned there that this is kind of how you're architecting certain systems. So yeah, tell us a bit about that. What is the role of a chief AI officer?
A chief AI officer. Okay, I think it is getting evolved, but I will tell you how I look at it, right? As we got into software, there was a need for chief technology officer, right? Because there was so much complexity in technology, and we needed someone who understands that and can run the show from that perspective, right? But then that blew into something even bigger than the number of people, the number of projects. So now it's not just technology, it's process, team, flow, and all that thing to a point that you needed someone even beyond technology. So we started calling chief information officer, right?
Yep.
It's even higher. So if you look at it from that lens, I would say that the coming wave is more about, we're going to have companies where they're going to be AI first, right? How much of that they want determines what the role of a chief AI officer could be, right?
Yeah.
It could be a role where he's coming under a CEO directly, because that's the main thing. They are totally decided that AI first is their strategy. Or it could come under a CTO or a CIO, where yes, hey, we have our existing team which can develop software, but we need that niche to build the AI LLM based apps itself, or figure out something in between, right? So, but the nature is clear, as I said, right? With the new LLM app, the existing software industry cannot just start implementing without the right tools and system. The needs, the roles have changed and all that. As an example, it's not just technical always, right? I'll give you two examples. One is, as soon as you say AI, internally and externally, mostly internally, if you say AI, people are not like, hey, let's do it. The first thought that they might not express is fear due to the fact that they think, oh, my job is going to be automated, right? That means as a AI team, you need to put it in a way saying, okay, what we're doing is going to help the company. That means it's going to help the share prices and your bonus. So they need to now comprehend, oh, AI is going to help me with my bonus. I'm going to be automated out of it. So who's going to do that? Like, is IT industry ready to do that? No. So these AI officers need to start thinking about it, right? Like they could be fallout due to some data related thing. How are you going to handle that too? And another thing is innovation. Okay. Software was about automating and creating scale and productivity gains. Okay. But AI also puts in a new thing into the mix called creativity. That was never done before, right? That means you have to innovate. It's not like a choice now. It's like with software, you have to automate. Like with AI, you have to innovate.
Yeah.
Now, do we have an innovation role and that kind of thinking system processes around the IT team? No. So these are the new roles that will come, right? And the new architecture to everything like that. Like who's going to think through that, set it up, right, and bring it all together, this new nature. Right. That's the need for a chief AI officer, in my perspective, and it is evolving. So I would say I'm probably one of the 100 plus or so chief AI officers out there. It is evolving every day. You see a new one, but it is becoming a thing now. So.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Interesting. And in terms of the projects that you are working on then as well, one thing that I'm seeing a lot of is, people are trying to get from what you might call a kind of maturity level of 1 right up to level 8, by implementing all the latest and greatest AI tools into their strategy. And actually the fundamental data strategy that's underlying it isn't right in the first place. So that, that's kind of the first step on the ladder, right? So with your engagements, what are some of the challenges in getting people into the right, kind of first step in order for you to then look at the more advanced stuff?
Yeah, I think everyone knows where that AI can do stuff, but exactly what is something we don't know. Right? And that's not something where you go without a strategy saying, okay, hey, here's are the capabilities, so that's what it needs for you. But that's not how it works. So how would you, as a firm, approach it from a strategic perspective, right? And I did mention one of the things is creativity and hence innovation, right? So, yes, I also mentioned you can break it down into smaller functions. Okay, so you have a set of so many smaller functions, right? Yes, so now it gives you the capability to take that function, build your use case and all that, right? But then is that all, right? There's these functions that exist. There's also that data that exists in a company, right? And some of the companies are prepared. They are chief data officers who have built the entire stream in a way with data lakes and great data strategy. So they are ready to go, right? But some companies, even that needs to be built from ground up. But then with this new AI capability combined with this new data capability, you have very custom functions, very specific to that company, right? And plus, they also have existing microservices already built because software exists in every company. You're not going to throw those functions away, right? Software does today, right? How are you going to harness that power? So there are 3 things at play: the data, the AI functions I told you about, and the software functions. When you combine it in a certain way, you have smaller functions, consumable functions. Now you have all these functions, right? Very unique and specific for your company. Right. So that, I believe, is the first step towards getting a handle of things. It's not just data. It's not just the LLM functions and all that, or yeah, exists. You got to combine them and capture them, encapsulate them in nice functions, right? So now you have the base, right? Now you have a playground to innovate on, right? And you have now millions of functions, right? So millions again is it's going to overwhelm you. So you need to have specific process and tools that people can take and start innovating. But that's the key. So you need to have innovation rules. So if you have to make a comparison to the old software industry where there was the client problems that business people and analysts understand and they translate into what it should be in terms of software, right? Now, same thing, you still have the same business customer problems, use cases. Now, instead of just translating, it's like, how do I innovate with all these encapsulated functions? That's something they can use even LLMs to do that, but then that needs to evolve as a function, right? So that's that whole challenge of putting AI into practice and making your company an AI first practice. And that's what I believe is the job of a chief AI officer, to one, make sure the board and the CEO takes AI seriously, right? And makes it AI first. And another is, how do you really bring it to the forefront? How do you really extract the max value out of AI? Not just looking for low-hanging fruits and doing something, some projects just to claim, but approach it as a strategy, right?
Interesting stuff. Good. Okay. Right. Well, look, Don, it's been a pleasure to speak to you today. We'll let you get on with your day, and just want to let people know how can they find you if they are interested in learning more from you.
Well, go to our website, Arivu-IQ.com, or you can reach to me on LinkedIn, Don Mallik or Stephen Mallik, and connect with me. Happy to talk. In fact, we're creating an IP called AI People, which we will be launching soon. And I'm pretty excited about it. It's about changing the world with an invisible technology, right? Making AI invisible. And so we are excited about creating this new IP that we are working on with multiple clients now, where we are making technology invisible. And that's the magic behind what we do is, let me explain AI People this way, right? So if you take your phone today and there's like thousands of contacts that you might have, right? And someone could be a plumber, or someone could be a medical assistant, or someone to help you with your loans or insurance, right? So if you go into one of them, let's say the loan officer that you have as a contact, he has the email address, he has a mobile number. Text him, you can call him, you can email him, and probably reach him on his social media profile. He has a WeChat or Facebook and all that. What if you actually replace him with an LLM-based technology, right? So it's now like that person, anyway, you have as a contact is there for a specific reason, like a loan officer. Now, what if that loan officer can be 24/7, empathetic and cheerful, right? Being there to answer any of your questions, silly or not, doesn't matter, right? And look at it from a company's perspective. Now they can send armies of such thing to each and every one, right? For each and every silly need. They're not trying to save time, like talk soon, cut them off. That's what they do right now with customer service rep. If you call them, they want to talk to you. That's cost, right? But now we can say, keep talking to us, right? And this person is interested in you, remembers every conversation, right? You could text and say, I'm going to call you in 2 days, and call, and it'll remember, right? It's acting like a real person. So see the level of customer experience you can provide, right? At a time where the customer experience has tanked and COVID has only exacerbated that, right? So what we are going in and saying, do give more time to your customer, but don't have to increase cost, right?
Yeah.
That's what we call AI people, and it's invisible because it's not an app, right? You don't. It's not like a chatbot. It's not something you have to like something tangible. Just another contact on your phone. You contact it the same way as you would reach a human in any shape or form you want to, right? That's why it's invisible. So
interesting. Yeah,
we are pretty excited about it, and that's why you should contact me. And we're really excited about it, getting this out.
So this is live and ready to go.
I wouldn't say live. This is on the works, and you could get into what we call as a waiting list, because we are working live with certain clients, and we have our hands full now.
Okay, right.
Get into a waiting list. It's becoming live soon. So
awesome. Well, I'll be looking out for that for sure, and we'll make sure that we update people as and when it goes live. But yeah, look, I really appreciate your time, Don. It's been a fascinating chat. So, thank you for making time for me this afternoon. And yeah, we'll no doubt speak again soon.
Thanks, Alex. Great.
No worries. Thank you.